Hello, my name is Harry and welcome back to Learn English with British Harry. You may be wondering, why am I doing a video in my bathroom? This is because this is the only place that had decent lighting. But I wanted to use it as an example to tell you that you don't have to have the perfect conditions to improve your English or anything in life. You don't have to wait for things to be perfect. You can make things happen. So today I wanted to talk about opening a bank account in the UK. Now you have a few different options. You have a current account or a savings account. A current account is similar to a checking account in America or many other different countries. But in the UK, we call this a current account. You can have different types of current accounts, but this is where your wages or your salary is paid into. And then you have a separate savings account where you can save a certain amount of your money. You can also have something like an ISA. An ISA is where you can deposit some money and it's tax-free, so you don't pay any tax on that amount. And it's usually a certain amount within a year. Some places say £20,000, so you can put some money into that ISA and you can't withdraw it. That's the only caveat. So that's the only problem that you have. If you want to withdraw it, you will face heavy penalties, so you have to pay to withdraw that out. But having an ISA is a good way to save money, because when it comes to budgeting, it's very easy to spend all of your money. Now, when you get paid, what do you spend your money on? You have your rent or your mortgage. You have your utilities like your phone bill, internet bill. You have to pay for food. You have to pay for your car. So there are quite a few things that you have to pay for. And taking a certain amount of money out and putting that into a savings account or into an ISA can be a really good way to build up your savings. Otherwise, it's very easy to spend your money. So when you go to a bank and you want to open up a bank account in the UK, there are a few things that you need. So you need to have proof of identity. This can be a passport. It could be a UK driving license. You also need to have proof of address, proof of where you are staying. This could be something like tenancy agreement if you're renting. It could be a utility bill, so if you're paying for electricity or water. And usually these have to be quite recent, so usually within the last 3 months, but you can check with the individual bank. You may also need to take your national insurance card, and this is a way for the country to keep track of how much tax you're paying. So you can take a few of those things along with you. You could use potentially a utility bill. Maybe it's something like a water bill or an electricity bill, and a national insurance card. Also, one thing to bear in mind that many banks require you to pay an initial deposit, maybe 10 or 20 pounds. You can also be given a debit card, and you can use this to pay for transactions online or to withdraw money at an ATM or a cash machine. And a lot of banks, they have limits on how much you can withdraw from a cash machine. It may be something like £250, and you may be charged for going over a certain amount. So you really need to read the small print, find out if you are charged extra for withdrawing extra amount, or you may be stopped. You may have a limit. It's very common now to use contactless payments. You can link your phone to your card and use this to pay for things. It's very common on things like traveling by the tube, where normally you would have an Oyster. You can still get an Oyster card, which is like a blue card, and you can tap it on the barriers to enter. into the train station or the tube station. But now many people can use their phone, and they'll just tap their phone or getting onto the bus, and it's much more convenient and it's quick and easy. When you are choosing a bank account, it's really interesting to look at the interest. So the interest is the amount of money that you would earn on your money that's in the bank account. Some banks may offer higher interest to try to attract you to join their bank. So it's good to shop around, have a look at banks which offer the best interest. Many banks have different branches. So a branch is just a different location of the same bank. Sometimes you may need to give information of where you set up your account, and you can find that out by looking on your statement. So your statement will show you things like your account number, your sort code, and these are unique to you when you are making payments. Now, talking about payments, you have things like standing orders and direct debits. But what is the difference? Well, a standing order is something you control. So you set up a standing order, and you would pay people and companies this way. So maybe you have to pay your rent. So you'd set up a standing order for a certain amount every month, and you know this amount is fixed, so it doesn't change. A direct debit, on the other hand, is when the company would automatically take money from you. So you have to sign a document to say, I allow you to take money from my bank account, and this is for things that can fluctuate in price. So fluctuate means to change prices. For example, if you join a gym, you would sign a direct debit. So the gym would withdraw, so take out a certain amount of money from your bank account each month. This could also be with a phone bill or a utility bill. So for example, your electricity would vary every month. So this way, if it's more or less, the company knows how much money to take out of your account. So that's the difference between a standing order and a direct debit. Your bank may also give you an overdraft. An overdraft is when you have a certain amount of money that is extra, but it's not free money, because if you go into your overdraft, you would pay interest on this amount back to the bank. So it can be good to give you peace of mind if you have some unexpected amounts that are taken out, or if you have to pay for an emergency, it could come in handy. But if you get into the habit of always going into your overdraft, then you're paying extra each month. So it's really not a good thing. I think the best thing to do is to think about budgeting. Now, when it comes to budgeting, how do you budget your money? Do you keep track of how much you are spending? Because it can be quite easy to overspend. I like to keep track, and usually I keep my receipts. So your receipt is something which, when you make a purchase, you're given a piece of paper which tells you how much you've spent. And you can take pictures of this on your phone because it's very easy to lose receipts. So I think it's a good idea to have a spreadsheet and look at how much money you are spending on certain things. And I think this is good because it gives you a sense of control. I think many people are not really taught about money growing up. I wish it was taught more in schools at a very young age when it comes to things like savings, because if you live beyond your means, is to spend more on things than you are bringing in, than you are earning, then it can cause a lot of trouble because you can end up in debt. So debt is something that is money that you have to pay back to the bank and at a high interest, and you can forever be in that cycle of paying back debt. So it can be a good idea to live frugally or within your means. An informal word for this is stingy, and the word stingy is an informal word. It's not a really complimentary phrase. A stingy person is someone who doesn't like to spend money. Now, when you are saving money, some people say it's a good idea to save at least 10% of your money. So once you've paid for the necessities and the essentials straight away, you can see how much money you have left for the month. And then with this amount, you can say, okay, I'm going to save at least 10% and put this into your savings account where you can earn interest, or into an ISA. And I always think it's a smart way to get your money to work for you because it can easily disappear. So you also have to ask yourself, when you're purchasing something, is it something I need or is it something that I want? And it's very easy to fall into the trap of saying, I want this thing, and justifying it. And it's the company's job to try to convince you to buy this certain product, to make you feel like you are lacking in something. But if you are comfortable and you live within your means and you save, and then you could be able to afford it. For me, I prefer to spend money on experiences. So I'm not really into flashy things or expensive things. It's more about having that experience or sharing something, an experience with friends or family, for example, traveling somewhere or going to a concert or to a festival, for example. So I think it's very individual because it's your money at the end of the day. But being able to look after it and deal with the mental side can help you to be more balanced and not be anxious or stressed when it comes to paying for things. In today's society, it is very difficult with the cost of living crisis because everything is so expensive. The prices of products has increased, but people's salaries haven't really increased. You have things like the minimum wage, which has increased slightly, but it's not enough to cover the things that people have to pay for. So in this case, it's very difficult to even save, and people are just living paycheck to paycheck. But hopefully, over time, the economy starts to improve and get better. In the UK, you have many type of brick and mortar banks. So these are the traditional type of banks that you go into. For example, Barclays, HSBC, Lloyds Bank, NatWest. So these have branches, but then some other banks would solely be online, so only online. And even the brick and mortar banks, they do have online services. And online banking is amazing because it saves you time, it's so convenient, and it's very flexible. But there may be times that you actually have to go into a branch. And when you go into a branch, remember again to take some kind of ID, some form of identification. And when you speak to the customer service, you may have to queue. And queuing is like an institution in the UK. So they will instruct you where you have to queue. You may have a ticket number and you just have to endure the queue. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. It's really helpful. And remember, good luck on your English journey. I hope these videos are helping you. And don't wait for the perfect moment. You can make this happen. Thank you, and watch this video next.